prepare for our meditation, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Reverend James Trapp. James Trapp is an inspirational speaker and strategic advisor to individuals and organizations on enlightened leadership. He is currently the Senior Minister of Worship at Spiritual Life Center in Sacramento, California, and President of Star Human Capital, a consulting firm dedicated to applying universal spiritual principles to inspire and instruct others to to create their best lives and strategically improve their organizations. He also served as senior minister at Unity on the Bay in Miami, Florida. He is former CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries. James is an active participant in cultivating a global community and fostering mutual understanding and respect amongst spiritual traditions of the world, and has participated in several sessions of the Parliament of the World's Religions. He has been keynote speaker at numerous conferences, meetings, and events where he shares his message of respect and appreciation of and harmony with others in the global community. In addition to being an ordained Unity minister, Reverend Trapp has an undergraduate degree in economics from Princeton University and a JD from the University of Florida. He studied at Barr Center for Buddhist Studies, where he enhanced his proficiency for practicing and teaching mindfulness meditation. He's inspired by his lovely wife, Angela Trapp, and son, Jalen Mandela Trapp, who is currently a junior at Howard University. For meditation and message today, let's give a warm Unity welcome to Reverend James Trapp.
It is wonderful to be back at Unity of Washington, D.C. My good friend, Reverend Sylvia, one of our most magnificent ministers in the entire Unity movement. You all are blessed to have her here in Washington, D.C. And I'm so blessed to be here in your presence as well. You know, I was speaking to a young person who was on their spiritual path recently, because they were very upset, very disturbed about what had happened a couple of weeks ago with the shootings that took place in San Antonio, Texas, Dayton, and there was another one that didn't get as much publicity in California. And of course, they were distressed and wanted to have an answer as to why do such things happen. And they come to me, as the minister that, I'm supposed to have the answer, like I'm the answer man. And the human part of me was like, Scooby-Doo said, I don't know. But if you have any sense of compassion, any sense of connection with humanity, you cannot help but feel a sense of sadness and perhaps even disturbed or even outraged by the whole experience. I remember, I think it was 2012, I remember it was in December, because I just moved to Sacramento at the time, and they had the young children in Sandy Hook, and I remember reading off the 20 names of the young children, 5 or 6 years old, who had made their transition, and several of the staff had went on as well. And we thought that after that, a lot would be happening. There would be some changes legislatively would begin to take place, but very little happened. With the most recent event, one of my congregants was so moved that she decided she was going to write every single senator to take some action. And she said her hands were hurting, but she decided she was going to do that. And so someone was asking the question, why is this happening again? You look at the Sandy Hook or Charleston and Parkland and the Pulse, Las Vegas. And I would say that in addition to taking outer action, which is an important thing to do, we always must look for the spiritual solutions. And part of the spiritual solution is to make a transformation of what one individual called kind of a sociopathic economics, in which sometimes businesses are devoid of compassion and pursue profit for profit's sake only. and sometimes are devoid of the morality and our interconnectedness as human beings, as spiritual beings. And I always believe that the spiritual solution must come from that place. Because when that happens, there'll be a transformation of individuals. And the consciousness will begin to weave themselves into every aspect of our society, whether it's politics or business. You know, as Reverend Sylvia was talking in a walkabout, she talked about the idea more souls will have an awakening. An awakening. Which is why I believe that all of our challenges may be mental, emotional, physical, but all solutions are spiritual. Yes, we do the outer. Yet the deeper transformation to take place has to take place within us. And we know that we must change ourselves, and then we will understand that if you're in charge of something, you don't sell something simply because you can and law allows it. You don't do it because you know it's not the right thing to do, because it's something that humanity must be looking toward. I didn't mean to go off on that rant, but it was something that was on my mind as I was thinking about this young person and what's on their minds about our future. And the idea that what we want to engage in on my topic today, which is spiritual wealth. And when we talk about spiritual wealth, we're talking about a sense of wholeness. We're talking about a sense of dynamic well-being. We're talking about a balanced life that allows for the love of God to flow through us in so many different ways. So yes, there's health and the vibration of enthusiasm and money, yes, money and circulation of money, but ideal work and play and co-creativity, right relationships. It includes all of that. So today I ask the question, spiritual wealth, can you handle it? And when I'm talking about, when I'm asking, can we handle more of this energy coming through us? Can we handle the higher octave, the greater frequency of this livingness of God in our life? So it moves through us so we're not sputtering or cracking or breaking down. Because you know, if a coil cannot carry the energy that is being moved through it, it'll short circuit. It'll falter, it'll break. So often in our life, we may be praying for more, but yet we're not quite ready to be the carrier of the more current of this presence that we call God. Oftentimes we begin to get more of ourselves and it begins to reveal more, but maybe along the way we might break down, and then we pray for stuff into our life and then we have to pray twice as hard to try to get it out. I don't know if you ever had that happen. Speaking for myself, I'm telling on myself. So good may come into our life and we'll have greater opportunities to express ourselves and we may find ourselves running from it. I remember one time I was earlier in ministry and someone had come to a Unity church for the very first time in their life. And at the end of the service, they said, I can't come back here again. And I said, oh my God, I ran the person away. Already, first day. He said, I can't come back here because these people around here are just too happy. I'm used to leaving where I'm feeling worse than when I came. I said, well, you're probably not in the right place. Because that vibration was too high for that individual. So we asked the question, wealth, spiritual wealth, can you handle it? We're asking the question, are we really ready to develop the blisscipline? That's right. That's a new word, blisscipline. It means the discipline of our heart that allows us to carry more of the bliss of God everywhere we go. It means we're going to break away from the common thoughts and the mundane thinking and the mediocre way that sometimes we may look at the world. It means that we're going to have to develop the discipline that allows us to stay in that faith atmosphere, that spiritual atmosphere, regardless of what the circumstances may look outside of us. Knowing that this blisscipline can become a form in our life when things kind of go a little squirrely. What I mean by that, if you're in any kind of training, whether you're a good musician, a great musician like the musicians here today, or maybe a wonderful athlete or a wonderful writer in your life. That is a particular form that they engage in, and when circumstances may not be to their liking, they can always go back to the form. When an athlete is absolutely tired and knows how to go back to its form, how to move its arm and move its legs, even when his mind and his body doesn't seem like it wants to do it, when the flesh is not willing. They know what form to go back to. Maybe a musician might forget a little bit and knows how to go back to certain things in order to remind him or her of what they need to do to get back in beat. I remember I was speaking to one of my musicians I had years ago. His name was Dan, and he was magnificent as a pianist. You know, he had started with classical stuff, and then he heard, I think, Billy Joel, and it changed his whole life, and he started to get into that music. And I was asking him, how much did he have to practice? And he said, like about 12 hours. I'm thinking 12 hours a week. And he said, no, not 12 hours a week. I used to practice 12 hours a day to get that good. I think with our spiritual work, we want to make that a part of our life. You know, I just started using a personal trainer to try to get me back in shape. Lord have mercy, it's hard. But don't get out of shape. It takes a long time to get back in there. But we have to develop our own disciplines that allows us to get back into spiritual form, back into our awareness of our oneness with God. So I'm going to talk about a few disciplines we can engage in to help us do that. So discipline number one, we need to redefine certain things in our life that have certain meaning for us. In other words, we use certain words and we use them in a certain way. And one of those things is the word need. We might want to redefine that. Oftentimes people talk about what they need in life. I need this. I need this kind of car mobility. I need this kind of work. I need this kind of place to live. I need this kind of mate. I got to get rid of this one. I need this. I need that. Oftentimes when someone is using that word need, it means it's a form outside of themselves that they do not have. They need that to be made happy. And they may say that over and over again. But what they're echoing, what they're saying is there's something missing in me. And even if they were to use some sort of mental hocus pocus, some kind of mental manipulation to get that particular form in their life, they still would not have it in consciousness. They would not have it in awareness because their belief in need is something outside of them. And they may have it for a little while, but it may not be a fulfilling experience. And they would just get more stuff in their already cluttered life. You know, and they talk a lot today about the law of attraction. But the idea is that we don't attract what we want. We attract who we are. Who are we being at any given moment? So we want to redefine need. Need means an invitation from the deepest dimension of our soul to be more, to reveal more in our life. So that when we talk about we need something, that is our soul saying and giving us an invitation to be more in expression. It means there's a potential within us that has not been actualized. And it needs to be manifested. So the need of our soul is saying to be more. I was speaking to a friend the other day who had, was talking about the idea, one day we may run out of oil. What are we going to do with all the cars that need oil? And then all of a sudden I realized, they got electric cars now. They've been around for a long time. There's always more to be expressed. And so, what if we run out of roads for all the cars? I just read an article the other day that the Japanese are already starting to come up with flying cars. I don't know if you ever watched the Jetsons. They had the flying car flying around. I still remember the theme song. Meet George Jefferson, his boy Elroy, his daughter Judy, Jane, his wife. Some of y'all know. But anyway, discipline number one, need means an opportunity to reveal more that's within us. And then discipline number two, we talk about it a lot. I'm sure you talk about it here. It's really important that we have a consciousness of appreciation and thanksgiving for everything that we do have. Everything we do have. And we don't want to name it little. Sometimes you hear people say, I got this little old this little old that. We need to move to a discipline so that we have full appreciation of what we have. It's great grand Thanksgiving what we have. And then we discover when we get what we think we want in order to be happy that we're already happy. We don't need more. Sometimes people just hang out and stuff thinking they want more, but they never really get satisfaction because they don't have full appreciation of what they have. And I think whenever we appreciate something, anything, any small thing, it increases. As somebody says, what we appreciate appreciates. It becomes even more. And I was thinking about, going back to school. I remember when my son was starting high school years ago. We went to one of the meetings with the teachers. And this particular teacher was the geometry teacher. And she had pointed out to the parents that she realizes that some students believe that they're not good in math. I don't know if any people have this belief. I just don't have the math gene. I just can't figure this stuff out. But she went on to explain to the parents that she was able to get her students who felt they weren't good in math to be okay with their ability, regardless of the skills they had at that time. And she noted that everyone is good at something. And some things they may not be quite as good at. Some people are good at math, some people are good at music, others are good at English, others at art. And she used this analogy that I'll never forget. He said that each subject is like a rubber band in your mind. And some of the rubber bands are larger for areas that the students are good at, and then the other bands are maybe a little small in areas that they don't think they're good at. And what she went on to explain that when a student is praised and acknowledged in a subject area, that rubber band in that area begins to expand. And when a student is put down or criticized for not doing well in a subject area, that band begins to constrict and contract. And that teacher let all of us know that night that her job was not only to praise the students who do well, but also find the positive things they do well in the subject they think they're not gifted in. In this case, maybe it was math. And so what she did was that she changed the students' attitude about math from a negative perception to a positive one by simply focusing on any good thing they did in that area. And they began to expand that rubber band in their mind. And ultimately, they became better in that area. So I think discipline number 2 is just practice appreciation. Appreciate what we have, and we'll attract even more of it in our life. And then there's discipline number 3. To help answer the question, wealth, can you handle it? And it's essentially that we release those things from our life that no longer serve us. Now, I don't know about you, I had a garage sale the other day, and I just realized, man, I was a pack rat. Sometimes we keep everything. And I used to think about, man, I look at stuff, I said, man, I had this for like 17 years, but I'm going to keep it just in case. Just in case there's some sort of apocalypse that takes place along the way. I might need it one day. So sometimes we systematically need to go through our stuff and get rid of stuff that no longer serve us, not just during springtime, but all times of our life. But it goes beyond just things. We want to examine, our emotions. And are we letting go of resentment? Are we letting go of animosity or any unforgiveness or any doubt or worry or fear? And begin to systematically let it go so that it begins to expand our perception so we can see life from a wider purview, because oftentimes when we're holding that negative energy, we don't even see the good that is around us. It's blinding us. Many people live life dedicated to proving a point. No one here, but they may say, life is terrible, and I'm going to prove it. It's not safe out there. I'm going to prove it. At the same time, they want life to be different. We have to let go of those beliefs, those attitudes. So bliss number 3 is release that which no longer serves us. And then bliss number 4, we have to be a good custodian, a good steward of what we have. In addition to appreciating, just be a good steward of it. And oftentimes that means to fully occupy the space where we are. Many people don't fully occupy the space that they're in. And they want to go over to the next level. They want to go to a higher space in life. I remember I was on a phone podcast, I guess you would call it. And people would call in. And someone called in and said, I'm sick and tired of my job. I can't stand it. And they asked me at the ministry, what should I do? I had one of those moments again. I don't know. But I put on my turban. I spun around a few times, prayed to the east. And I said, what you need to do is go back to that job and give more than you're temporarily compensated for. And what happens is, as Ralph Waldo Emerson says, that when you give more than what you're temporarily compensated for, that you will put the universe in your debt. And the universe not being in you, wanting to be in your debt will balance the books. And either the space will expand or you will expand beyond the space that you are. This is principle. You cannot outgive the universe. You cannot outgive God. When you give temporarily more than what you're compensated for, the universe fulfills itself by means of us. And it will expand that space for you. So we ask the question, wealth, can you handle it? Wealth, can you handle it? Can you handle more energy? Can you handle more of expanding your point of view? Can you handle all of that so that you can be that vessel in the presence of God? And then we become aware there is something sacred within all of us. There's a magnificent choice that we can make when we come here. Understand that we did not come here accidentally. Nobody pushed us to be here. We may think, I want to get out of the body. I don't belong here. I'm too spiritual for this experience that we're going through here. I want to be in the higher ethers right about now. The higher ethers are calling me. I'm really an angel. I don't know how I got here. I need to get out of this body. Somebody made a mistake. No, it's all sacred stuff. In the Islamic teachings, it talks about the fact that there are two people. One is a farmer, and the other is meditating all of the time. Who's going to get to heaven? Who's going to have that expanding good in their life? And they'll say it's the farmer because they're useful in this dimension. In the Buddhist teaching, it talks about the fact it's rare to get a human experience. There are so many spirits vying to have this particular experience, and what a blessing it is to be here. So we don't want to get caught up in the belief, I need to be in a higher dimension. We're in it right now. We're in it right now. Heaven is everywhere. So if you can't make this life sacred, you're going to mess up the next dimension. I had a mentor that told me, he said that, life is sacred. Appreciate it. Be a good steward of it. A good steward, keep your body temple well, treat your body of affairs well, and see that you are in heaven now. And then what will happen is that you will express more and more of who you are. I remember thinking about school and going back. I remember when I was many years ago, I don't even want to say how long, I was in the 6th grade. And I was in a class. And, I left the class probably to go to the restroom or something like that. And I came back and they nominated me to be the treasurer of the 6th grade. I said, nah, I didn't volunteer for this. And I think they told me, well, you were voluntold. And the teacher wouldn't let me out of this. I was a little upset. I had to go to these classes throughout the week and give these little mini speeches and how to create, how to be a good student. And, I had to write these little placards and stuff like that. And I think I had something, vote for me, I'm JT or something like that. And so it all ended at the end of the week. You had to give, a 3-minute, speech. And I didn't really want to do this. I was kind of shy and kind of holding back and all of that kind of good stuff. And I'm nervous, and I didn't really want to be bothered with this. But for some reason, when it came to my turn, some sort of energy went through me. I began to talk about excellence and what it meant to be an excellent student and what it meant to expand and reach and all this stuff. And everybody's looking at me like, who are you and what you do at Trapp? I was going on and on. I went over my time, and when I sat down, everybody looked at me like I was an alien or something. And for that moment, I was embarrassed because I had gotten bigger than I thought I could be. And throughout all the day, I was trying to get back my agreement with mediocrity. I was getting in trouble with everybody else and had to stay in detention and all that kind of stuff because I didn't want to try to be like excellent. And I didn't put myself in a public domain like that until I was like 15 years old, and I was asked to be on the Stay in School program, a radio program, and I was one of the guests, and the mic came to me, and bam, I started talking again. And I didn't do anything like that till I got into ministry and had to go public about what I knew about the Spirit. I always remember that. But the point is this. We've all come here with something. We came with a choice. It's not accidental that we're here at all. Anyway, I'm going to simply leave you with this tip on spiritual wealth. Can you handle it? I learned this from one of my spiritual teachers years ago. And he said to up-level your energy to handle more of this bliss, more of this energy. That when you set goals, you want goals that are uplifting so you can feel that energy. Sometimes we set a goal and the wording and the label what they use or we may use, it doesn't have sizzle. It's not sexy. Somebody wakes up and says, I'd like to lose 5 pounds today or this week. Now, the way it's stated, nothing wrong with that, but it's not uplifting. It's not expansive to handle more of the unlimited good that this universe has for us. So we want to talk about what we will gain. And why don't we set a goal that's attractive to us again? It's not just a thing to do. It's not on our checklist. And if it's just on our checklist, it becomes just mundane, and we're probably not going to do it. We want it to be something that's compelling and important to us, that causes every cell in our body temple to want to dance. We want an uplifting goal, something like, I'm going to feel so fit and vibrant that literally my skin and my aura is going to shine to people. I'm going to make myself so beautiful in who I feel that I am that when I show up in the world, I'm just going to attract people. They're just going to be blown away. I'm going to be a sexy person. A whole lot more than I'm going to lose 5 pounds. No. What is uplifting? What will fire you up so that you can be the vessel that can handle the unlimited wealth of the universe? You want to word it and phrase it in such a way that it's so positive and so compelling, you can't help but want to wake up in the morning and start your day. And so when you look at your goal, that vision that you have for your life, you say, man, you go, girl, you go, homie. Here we go. Because it's attractive to you. It's fun to you. It's important and it's meaningful to you. And it's aligned with the dreams of your heart. And you will get there, and you'll more likely take the action needed to make it happen. And then it's just a simple thing that you're not just connected to your dream. What you're doing, you're connected to an energy field. It's uplifting. It's positive. You label it and word it in such a way it's not focused on loss. It's focused on gain. Not how hard it will be, but how good you'll become. Not, oh my gosh, if I do it, it might not turn out well. Rather, you visualize it happening and ask, wow, how great it will be when it turns out right. And you will attract the wealth of this universe. So I ask you the question, spiritual wealth, can you handle it? I heard a few faint yeses. Yes. Spiritual wealth, can you handle it? Yes. Can you handle it? Yes. Are you ready? Yes. So it is. Peace and blessings to you.